Census Bureau, and then you go in and try to find it and can't find it. And that is because we have to always be cognizant of where this data came from, what program or what survey that data came from, because it does have implications in terms of what you can use from that program. Giving you a little overview on accessing the data using our data tools, and then also leave you with a couple of resources that you can go back to and kind of read up more on the data that you are working. So the live demo is going to be on data.census.gov. This is the tool that replaced American Fact Finder, and you guys are probably going to see how really easy it is. It doesn't have all the features that American Fact Finder had, but it is definitely a lot more, I think, user-friendly for those that are not fluent in census speak, if you will. And then we'll have some time for some question and answers at the end. So our objectives for today are to show you where you can find program or survey information. Programs, we're looking at the economic programs, and then survey information, you're looking at like ACS, the American Community Survey. We're going to look at the data extraction tool, and again, if time allows, I can show you a mapping tool that is not within the data.census.gov tool. How to access videos and learning resources. So if what you learned today or what you see today kind of flies over your head, you can't go and look at these little 3 to 5 minute vignettes on YouTube that will walk you through using the data tool, okay, and what you can do with the data tool. Where and when the survey data are released, you'll learn where to go for that information, because everybody wants the most current data that we release, and knowing when they are going to be released is important for you to update your records, your research, so on and so forth. Important is, since we are in the redistricting phase, where you can access 2020 Decennial Census data, and then also how to use the American Community Survey. Give you a high-level overview to show you the geographies, the content, and the vintages that are available for your use. And this is where the majority of these neighborhood characteristics come from. Again, the demo on how to access data.census.gov, and a little preview of what we have in terms of the international database and trade data, okay, if time allows. So to begin with, we'll start with a little bit of information on who we are, what we do, especially the other 9 years when we are not counting everyone in the nation, and why we do what we do. And who are we? Of course, you know, we are the Census Bureau as part of the Commerce Department, and the largest of 17 primary federal government statistical agencies. And we are better known for the Decennial Census, but that's not all we do. We operate under Title 13 and Title 26 of the U.S. Code to conduct over 130 censuses and surveys each year. And these censuses and surveys are of households and of businesses across the nation. Why do we do what we do? Well, the Census Bureau is dedicated to providing the public current facts and figures about America's people, America's places, and America's economy. Our mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy. And our goal is to provide the best mix of timeliness, relevancy, quality, and cost for the data we collect and the services we provide. Okay? So all of this starts with the decennial census. Mandated by the Constitution, every 10 years we endeavor to count everyone residing in the U.S. and its territories. The results of which are used to determine the number of seats for each state in the U.S. House of Representatives. Aside from apportioning congressional representation, the results of the decennial census are used to draw congressional and state legislative, school districts, and voting precincts. Decennial data is also used to distribute more than 675, and this number has probably changed, but we haven't received the official release yet. But $675 billion in federal funds each year. Census data is also used to inform federal, tribal, state, and local government planning decisions such as infrastructure updates, expansions, and services for residents and communities. And businesses and private individuals use the data to make the best informed decision on where to locate a business, analyze a service area, or to get a better understanding of their community. So there's a difference between apportionment data and redistricting data. So back in April, we released the apportionment data. What that is basically a count of the state population so we can apportion the congressional representation, okay, the congressional seats in Congress. That's only a state number population, okay? Redistricting has a different data set altogether. It is basically the constitutional basis for conducting a census of the population every 10 years is to reapportion the U.S. House of Representatives, and the apportionment process of dividing the 435 members of, or the seats, I should say, in the U.S. House of Representatives among the 50 states based on the population counts from the 2020 census. And an apportionment has been made by the U.S. Congress based on each decennial census since 1790, except for the 1920 census. Okay, so the apportionment population consists of the resident population of the 50 states. It's important to understand the concept of residency because that's basically where the credit is given, where you reside. Plus the overseas federal employees, meaning those military and civilians that are stationed overseas, and their dependents if they live with them, and they that can be allocated to their home states. The population of the District of Columbia is not included in the apportionment population because it does not have any voting seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay. Redistricting, on the other hand, has a lot more data. It basically will give you the population by race, ethnicity, voting age. You've got your housing tenure or status, whether it's occupied or vacant. And then you also have group quarters population. And this you can get down to the block level. And this is the data that people need in order to accurately perform their redistricting duties. The information is not all inclusive because later on, I should say the data release is not all inclusive because later on in the coming into 2022, we will be releasing more detailed information. Detailed information that's called the detailed housing characteristics and the detailed demographic characteristics, where you will learn relationships within that household, okay, and more characteristics on the population. It doesn't go into income or educational attainment or any of that. That is from the American Community Survey. So, what is the American Community Survey? For those of us that have been around for a while, if we remember back to 2000 and going back, there were two forms that were used in the census. One was a short form, similar to the one that we used this time around, which asked basically the 6 demographic questions and a couple of housing unit coverage questions. But then there was another form that was like 52, 53 questions that were asked that were sent to a subsample of the nation. So we had two forms. Everybody got the 6 questions, the long form, and then a portion of the nation got the long form. And this is where we were able to extract and produce characteristics of the population of the United States. By 2000, we were undergoing a lot of expansion, and there were a lot of data users that needed that data more current than every 10 years, because by the time we got to mid-decade, that data for certain areas became stagnant, and those areas that were undergoing through major shifts in terms of loss in population or growth, that data really was not pertinent. It didn't have any relevancy. So we started out testing. We developed the ACS, which is an offshoot of the decennial census, and now it provides annual updates or data sets for the characteristics of the United States. So when you're doing a time analysis, if you keep the timing in mind, you can do characteristics up to from the ACS up to 2005, okay, on an annual basis. So you can do 205, 26, 27, 28, so on and so forth. But from 205 back, you can only get decennial census characteristics, which would be 2000, 1990, so on and so forth. So important to understand where the data starts and where it ends so that when you do your time analysis, you're consistent, okay? Um, we cover over 35 topics that look at employment, occupation, veteran status, uh, what do you call food stamps, disability, lots of content that you can get real good information on. And you can compare it, which is a plus. A lot of data sets you cannot compare, but with the ACS you can. And we always release it, 2 data sets on an annual basis. Okay, so it's always current. But the one thing that we need to keep in mind when we're looking at ACS for characteristics data is that we cannot release the data down to certain geographies because of our confidentiality, Title 13, in which we operate in, and it may not be available for all geographies for the vintage that you want or you're looking at. So, for instance, our 1 year estimates are exactly that. It is 12 months from January to December of data that we collect, aggregate, and then publish at the 1 year ACS. But it does have a geographic threshold, meaning that only geographies, and by geographies we mean counties, metro areas, large places like New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Milwaukee, any of those geographies that have 65,000 in population or higher are going to get a very current release in the form of the ACS 1 year estimate. Those other geographies that fall below the 65,000 threshold receive a 5 year estimate, including the larger geographies. So the 5 year estimate is basically 5 years, 60 months worth of data that is collected, aggregated, and then tabulated and published at for the 5 years for all the other geographies. Okay, big difference in the two, and something to keep in mind in because our data tool always brings back the most current data set, and that is usually the 1 year. Okay, and so we have to change that data product if our geography is below that. And I'll show you when I do the demo of the little pitfalls that we all make. Okay, so understanding the data set is one thing. Now understanding the geography and how far it can go in terms of the lowest level is another. This is an illustration of how nesting geographies also fall into that category. Anything down the axis, the main line that you see here in the center, you have decennial data. And with decennial data, you can go down to the block level. Excuse me. With ACS, we cannot go to the block level. We have to go down to the block group level because if we go further, we risk disclosing who our participants are, who our respondents are. So because the decennial census, everybody answers the questionnaire, we can go down to the block level because all the answers, the responses from that block are collected, aggregated, and published at the block level. But with ACS, because it is a sample of the population that get that questionnaire, I may have only one person in that block responding, and if I publish that, I risk disclosing who that individual is. So we have to go to the block group level. For neighborhood data, that's our most popular request. Neighborhood boundaries are a local construct, if you will. It is not part of census geography. However, you can use, and that's the recommended mode, is to use census tracts. And there's a tool that you can overlay the census tracts if you know your neighborhood boundaries and extract that information to get your start collecting data. So neighborhood, we recommend using census tracts. There are some individuals that like to use zip code tabulation area data, but the problem with that is, I should say, the challenge with that is some zip codes stretch over other neighborhoods, and the zip codes may change in the decade. We do not update those boundaries. We update the zip code boundary areas every decade when the U.S. Postal Service shares with us their postal mail delivery sequence file, and that's how we're able to lock in that geography at the zip code level for the next 10 years. So something we should be cognizant, depending on how granular you want to get. Zip code data may work, but oftentimes it's census tracts that work better, that give you better data. The other spokes that you are seeing on this illustration are how other census geographies nest within the primary geography. And by that I mean that you have some places, some congressional districts, some state legislative districts that cross boundaries, whereas the geography down the center, these do not cross boundaries. They have their set boundaries that are not shared with other geographies. But for instance, places, if you think of like Aurora, Illinois, Aurora sits in 4 counties. So when you are doing data extracts for or research for Aurora, you have to be cognizant of the fact that it's in 4 counties. Do I want, make sure that you have got all those counties included in your analysis? Or if you just want to research a certain part of Aurora in that other county, you can pull that out. And same thing with congressional districts and metro and micropolitan areas. Okay. Geography is a lesson or a course all on its own. So it's just give you an overview of how that structure is set up for our data collection. Content is an important thing with ACS because this is where that really insightful information comes from. You can break down the content for ACS in these 4 groups. You've got social, demographic, economic, and housing characteristics. So if you look on the left side under social, this is a lot of, and this is just the main topic because you've got fertility data. What does fertility data mean? Well, you're looking at women who are in the childbearing phase of their lives, how many children they have had, at what age. Gives you insight if you've got some kind of planning agency or service that you deal with mothers. Educational attainment. How high of in the education ladder have your community members gotten to? You can look at that. Grandparents as caregivers. You can find that information in terms of grandparents who have sole custody of their children and how many children they're rearing, so on and so forth. Disability status. If you're providing services to the disabled members of your community, you can look at that in terms of is it ambulatory or is it, vision? Is it hearing? You can find that kind of information using the social characteristics. Demographic is basic. These questions are asked of all of our censuses and surveys. And economic, another source of rich information of your community or your service area. because you can look at the class of worker that resides there, the employment status, employed or unemployed, part-time, full-time, multiple jobs, food stamps, those that are receiving some form of aid, health insurance, big topic. Who's insured, who's not insured, and is it through their employment or privately sought or public assistance or through the exchange? Lots of information that you can get there aside from income and poverty, the economic characteristics. And then under housing, one that bubbled up to the surface during the pandemic when we were all shut down was the computer and internet use. This proved very insightful in that we were throwing everything online. Kids go home, we'll teach you online. If you want to register for that vaccine, go to this link and register. If you want to find information, go to this link and register. Well, when we sent all the kids home, we closed the schools and we were trying to educate them at home, a lot of lessons learned here. Kids may have had an iPhone or a phone, but they didn't have a laptop. They may have subscription for phone calls, but not data. So these things came to light. That's where you got libraries to remain open and turn on their Wi-Fi so people can go there and get some internet use. Also, when we came to the vaccine, we have a lot of seniors that don't have the equipment, don't have the subscription. They go to the libraries to use that service. Well, if the libraries are closed, they don't have it. How are they going to register? How are they going to get any information? So all of this brought a lot of information to the surface and has provided a lot of lessons learned, okay, in what we need to do and where the services are lacking. And then you can look at what kind of heating fuel the homes are using, the aging housing stock of your community, what kind of facilities, how many vehicles. There's a lot of information here that you can use to gain insights into your community with regards to the housing characteristics. So ACS has a lot of information that can prove valuable when you're looking for data to augment your grants, your strategic planning, just a community profile of your service area. You can get it from there. But we do have other surveys that are important, that, in other words, are the official numbers, if you will, of a certain topic. So, for instance, we have the current population survey. It's sponsored jointly by the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And CPS is a national cross-sectional monthly survey, which is the source of official statistics on labor force for the U.S. Okay? So that means we collect the data for Bureau of Labor Statistics. They take the workforce data. We keep the demographic data, and this is what you get from the survey. So in addition to being the primary source of monthly labor statistics, the CPS is used to collect data for a variety of other studies that keep the nation informed on the economic and also the social well-being of its people. So this is done by adding a set of supplemental questions to the monthly basic CPS questions. And these supplemental inquiries vary month to month and cover a wide variety of topics, such as child support. Do we still volunteer? Health insurance coverage, the challenges with that. School enrollment, what schools, public charter, daycare, so on and so forth, and also food insecurity. And these supplements are usually conducted on an annual or biannual basis, but the frequency and the recurrence of the supplement really depend on what best meets the needs of the sponsor. And key dates with CPS for official numbers are in September. Last month, we did release the poverty and the health insurance complement for CPS. And these are data sets that are available online. These reports you can get online and see what is happening, okay, at a grand scale, because the data from the CPS does not go down to the county and or the block level that people want. It's a high level. And then you use the other survey data to drill down for particular insights. Next to it on the right-hand side is the Population Estimates Program. And the Census Bureau's Population Estimate Program, or PEP, produces the estimates of the population of the United States, the metropolitan and micropolitan statistical areas, counties, cities, towns, as well as Puerto Rico. And these are annual estimates that become the official population and housing numbers in between the censuses. So when you're looking at ACS, even though it says population, remember ACS is a subsample or is a sample of the nation, not a total count such as the decennial census. But the estimates take into account the decennial census, it takes into account ACS, and it also looks at the components of change, which are your birth, death, and migration. And these are the official population estimates. Their key dates are in December, we're going to be releasing national and state level estimates. And then coming into 2022, we're going to look at county and metro areas, May 22nd, cities and towns, and also housing unit data. And then by June of next year, you're going to get a new complement of national, state, and county demographics. Okay, but these are the numbers to use for official documents, if you will. Okay, those are the numbers. Now, during COVID, we partnered with other agencies to collect data, not on a grand scale like ACS with the decennial, but as fast as we could from the participants to give us insights into how we were dealing with the pandemic. There were two surveys that are done, and we're still doing them. One is the Household Pulse Survey. The other one is the Small Business Pulse Survey. The Household Pulse Survey gives us insights on how people's lives have been and are continually being impacted by the coronavirus. The Pulse Survey, the Household Pulse Survey, continues to measure how the coronavirus is impacting households across the country from a social and economic perspective. And there are different panels for this because we started it back in March of last year. The conditions on the ground were different than what they are today. So the questions change based on what's going on the ground today. And you could look at all those panels and look at the questions that were asked and how people were responding. Example, when we started, we were asking, are you working from home? Are you fearful of losing your job? Have your hours been decreased because of the limitations, so on and so forth? So we have those kind of questions. Now is more access to vaccines and so on and so forth. Then the Small Business Pulse Survey measures changes in business conditions during COVID-19. And this one you can get at the state, national and state sector. The data is available by sector, state, 50 most populous metropolitan areas, and the results give you the local, state, and federal officials is basically essential real-time data, okay, to aid the policy and decision making. So these questions again change based on the conditions on the ground. When we started, have you closed your business? Have you laid off your staff? Have you fired your staff? Are you providing health insurance, and obtaining disinfectant and containers to carry out food and employment? Okay. Now are you open? Are the limitations, impacting you? In which way? Did you apply for aid? Did you get aid? Are you having problems finding employees? Okay, which is definitely, and you'll hear these quoted in the news all the time. And again, it depends on how they cite us but it's basically according to the Household Pulse Survey or according to the Small Business Pulse Survey. Okay, and we're still doing them, and we're going to continue to do them as long as needed. And as I said, it's a collaboration between like 10, 12, 15 agencies that we all compile the data to get it out there to the people that need it on a rapid basis. And this is where we have all of our equity tools. Okay, we have the COVID-19 hub. A lot of useful information here. It's interactive. You've got top level data with regards to businesses and economy. And on the second page, when you go to it, this is a screenshot, so it won't go. But on the second page is the real nitty-gritty data in terms of the demographics of, the effects of COVID. So you will get this, and it's downloadable, interactive. You can even zoom in on a particular panel. But then in this report, you can also come down. It's on another page. You can come down and look at all of the data equity tools that we have there. The Household Pulse, you have the business, and there are a couple of other ones that I'll hopefully show you when we do the live demo. But very easy to use tool. Really don't need a lesson for that. And then, of course, lastly, we have the Economic Census. And the Economic Census measures the nation's economy every 5 years. So right now, we're getting ready for the 2022 Economic Census. And basically, this provides vital statistics for virtually every industry and geography area in the country. Aside from or included in the Economic Census, which happens every 5 years, that's the basis of all of our programs, we have our annual business surveys, okay? And the annual surveys are conducted monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And they cover selected sectors of the nation's economy and supplement the Economic Census with more frequent information about our dynamic economy, okay? And then, of course, all of this shed light into what's going on in the business sector. And then lastly, on the right-hand side, if you see the last bullet, we also do the census of governments. And this is the official 5-year measure of the states and local government sector, which basically give you information on how the local government is spending its money, how much it has collected, and some employee information in terms of retention, so on and so forth. Okay, so lots of information from the economic programs. Okay, and so all of these programs, and this is just the main ones, but all of these other programs, including the main ones, produce data, okay, results. And if you want to see how those results are being used, you can access the stories behind the numbers in our America Counts page. And this is where you get a sense of what's going on in the nation based on these numbers. Now, the Census Bureau reports these numbers, but it really cannot comment on why the numbers are the way they are because we're not on the ground. That is more for a demographer to shed insights into why those numbers are the way they are. We collect it and tabulate it. So big distinction there when people ask us, well, why are they migrating here? Or what? Those are questions we cannot answer. That's where the demographers, be it a state demographer or a local demographer, can help you out on there. But with all of the data that we collect, we also, with the new software that's out there, can provide and create these visualizations. And again, you can see here, this is from the 2019 Current Population Survey, the CPS. And this one is from the CPS as well, from 64 to 2016. And there are other visualizations, interactive infographics, if you will, that are available and you can use, and you can grab these and download or drop them into your articles, your research papers. Okay, they're out there for the public to use. But with the data and the new software, like Tableau, it's not new, but it'll help you create these visualizations. These people kind of react to pictures a lot more than they do just numbers. Okay? So, How is it that you're going to get the data? You're going to be getting it by going to data.census.gov. So let me switch gears here. All right. So you should be looking at the splash page of Census.gov. And this is basically where you are going to learn where to go, okay, what we have available. Front and center, this is the most current release or topic, if you will. And as you scroll down, there are more data points that you can look at, the latest news and the American Count stories. You can look at all the reports that have been published. Come down, you can see these visualizations. Again, some of them are interactive. Our publications, our COVID data hub, and if you're interested, a calendar of what we're going to be releasing, if you really want to keep up with it. One thing that I do recommend is towards the bottom in the footer, if you're interested in any of our data releases, you can sign up to get notified. It's a checklist, basically, a pick list of topics and categories. You check off what you want information on, and that's all we will send you. We don't send you everything. We don't trouble you with junk. Only what your interests are. Right. So coming in, what data tools do you have? You browse by topic depending on what you want to learn. If you want to get more on education, on health or population, Hispanic origin, you drop in by topic. This is the easiest way of going to the redistricting page. So you can click on that and it's going to take you to the site where we have everything that you need to download the legacy file for the redistricting. Okay. It's downloadable to a CSV file, and we realized that it was meant for organizations that had statistical software like SAS or R. So we provided the Microsoft Access database shelf for you. This little video here will walk you through the process. It is a rather large file for the state of Illinois. So you have to make sure you have enough RAM in your system to accommodate the file. But you watch the video, you download your Access shell, you download your legacy file right up on top, and you're going to be extracting block level data for the population, for the voting age, so on and so forth, race, ethnicity. You can get that specific data using the legacy file format, okay? You have supporting documentation here that could help. The technical documentation, I think it's chapter 3 and chapter 4. Those are the ones that talk about the topics, the variables, meaning housing, race, age, so on and so forth. And chapter 4 is the geographic level. That will give you the list and the codes that you need to look out for. Those are there for you to use. However, this is if you want the entire file and you want to do your own data extraction. We do have this on data.census.gov, and I'll show you how to get that. But that's more specific, if you will. It's more targeted, whereas with the legacy file, you have access to all 50 states and all of their data. If you wanted to do some kind of comparison between Texas and Illinois or California and Texas, so on and so forth, you can do that using the legacy file. So this is by topic. Under the Explore Data tab, this is where you're going to find the data tools, okay? And we're going to go there right now to explore data. This is how you're going to get at your data through data.census.gov. Also on this page, if you scroll down, you can look at quick facts, the easiest tool that we have online that can give you a profile for a place, a county, a state, even a zip code that has 5,000 residents or more. And some of those are like in New York, the real densely populated areas, but here I haven't been able to find one. So I wouldn't suggest using zip code for Illinois, but you can use it for city, state, places, towns, up to 5,000 population. Anything lower than that, you'll have to go to the other data.census.gov. And this is where you can go to Census Business Builder to get your sector and geography reports on the business endeavor of your choice. You have the COVID Data Hub Access, and again, more popular visualizations and the data gems that I referred. So if after this walkthrough you forget how to analyze or map out Hispanic origin data, so on and so forth, you can look at these little videos and it'll walk you through. And then we have courses that if you know of anybody that wants to do some really heavy data, statistical software, geography, so on and so forth, you can take these courses. But extracting data, go back up to the top and click on the green tab. Okay, so this is meant for advanced users as well as novice users. So for instance, on this one, I want to look at the uninsured population in Chicago. Okay, so I'm just going to say okay, so right off the bat, you've got all these tables available to you that have data related to your query. In this structure, it always brings up the most current, okay? We haven't released 2020 yet, so the most current source is our 2019 American Community Survey. And because Chicago is a 65,000 and over population geography, it brings up the 1 year estimates right away. But if you look on the right-hand side, you want to look at a complete city profile, you have that available to you. You have specific or targeted topics that you can drill down into right away instead of going through all those tables.
Right. Ileana?
Yeah.
Okay, I know we're extremely pressed for time, but it would be helpful, I think, if you could drop down one of those tables so we know what we're looking at when
Yeah,
we go.
we're going
Okay.
to. I just wanted to, indicate what else is available
Oh,
to
okay.
the individuals because right now we're just doing healthcare coverage, okay? But if you
Got
look
it.
down, you can get related, okay, information on that topic. So this is the table that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so now you see for the city of Chicago, you have your topic insured, and if you scroll over, you have your uninsured. Okay, and if you scroll down, you have it by age breakout, gender, race, Hispanic origin, living arrangements. Keep going down, and you've got a lot of other data that you can look at. Okay, so on the left-hand side, this orange bar right at the frame is indicating the table that you're looking at. And this is your table ID. Okay, that table ID, if you like what you see in that table, remember it because later on when you want to go right into that table, you can just pop in the table and set your geography and you're good to go. Okay, you don't have to remember how did I get there? How did I word my search query? You don't have to remember anything like that. And from here, you can, City of Chicago, say you want to compare it to Milwaukee or Detroit, come into the filter on the left-hand side. You're going to come down to Geographies because you already have your query set up. Insurance coverage for Chicago. Now you want to compare. Let's do state. No, not state. Place level. And it's going to ask you where is this place at. So let's look at Wisconsin. And then give you all the places. I'm not going to scroll down. I'm just going to use the magnifying and say, type in 3 letters, and there's my place. And then I'm going to come back and say, I want to see in Michigan. And then again. All right, so I've got my data chips. I'm going to go to the right-hand side and say done. And so now my spreadsheet has been updated to include Detroit. And as I scroll over, you have Milwaukee. Okay. If you put a place that is below 65,000, this is where people usually make that mistake. They come up and they say, hey, I'm not getting my geography, the data. Make sure that your geography is at that threshold. And if it isn't, you drop down and select your 5-year data set. Okay, and it will bring in that other smaller geography. Okay, same data, so on and so forth. And there are editable features here. If you want to customize it, you can print it, download it. Printing, be careful with it because it only prints like 2 or 3 columns and only in the page viewer. It doesn't, if it's like this one is a long table, it won't bring anything down. Okay, so be careful with the printing. It's limited. We don't have a PDF version in this tool, but you can download to Excel or you can create your own CSV. The nice thing about downloading is that it allows you to select all the vintages available, whether it be 1 year or 5-year data set. Okay, one large download. And again, it's only CSV, but when it comes down to CSV, you can change it, save it to an Excel. You can add geographies or even do more what I call topics, your variables. Okay, so we had insurers. You can look at other health variables, okay, and add those on as well. Going back to showing you how to get decennial data. Let me clear this out. All right, so I'm interested in Chicago. Okay, just type in the geography. It's going to bring up a lot of data sets. And here we have your number from the official 2020 census. You want other breakouts. When you look at modifying the race, click filter under surveys. This is how you're going to get strictly redistricting data. Click on surveys. Oh, well, it's because I have that geography filter in there. Sorry. Let me come back. Okay, I'm going to do advanced search. Come into your surveys. And now you're going to look at Decennial Census. And it's giving you each congressional district, house, I should say. But what we want here, you have national or redistricting data. This is the one that you're looking at. Okay, and then you can give it the geography. And you can do multiple geographies if you like. And here we have our P1 is the population total by race. Okay, you want to compare it to a previous decennial. You got 2010 data. Unfortunately, 2000 is through the API, and there's a video on how you can use the API. But right now, this is what we have available, and this is how you can access redistricting data and change it, if you will, on the geography if you want it block level. And of course, going to ask you Illinois, and let's do Cook County. This is a little challenging because you need to know the tract that that block resides in, and there's another tool that we can show you to use. Let's say we're going to look there and look at all the blocks. You can take all the blocks within that tract or particular cherry pick the blocks. I selected all, and so now you have all your blocks, all your block level data there. And you can map it out if you wish by going to the top and clicking on that map tab. And you're going to need to, I don't know where 105 resides, but it's in here somewhere. But I think you get the general gist that you can identify it, pick it, and then go from there. I just don't know where that tract is at. Okay, so Val, I guess this is the limit of my data.
Okay, yeah, so that was redistricting data. There are people who are on this call who own their own businesses. They run programs, they might do strategic planning. What data sets might they be interested in? And then, I guess I could let them ask their own questions, but that would be a question that I would have.
For their strategic planning.
Yeah, so with strategic planning, you might consider, depending on what you're doing, right? You might consider looking at your local community. Suppose you wanted to do a program, say an education program, that's what your organization does, and you're trying to get a sense for some of the trends in the community, or you might want to understand the demographics, get a sense for poverty, and that might make some inference. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, no, absolutely. There are different data sets that one can look at if they're writing a business plan. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The tool that I'm bringing up right now is to define the geography. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
this is by coming into here, and then you're going to look at your, because you said neighborhood, and again, neighborhood is not a census geography. We need to
Mm-hmm.
look at the tracts that cover
Mm-hmm.
your neighborhood. And this is a good tool to use to see the tracks and the blocks and so on and so forth. So I'm going to hit the transportation layer, and then here we have tracks and blocks, but I
Mm-hmm.
just want the tracks. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do that. And let's say I'm just doing the places. And you set your labels. Now all you need to do is zoom in on your map.
Mm-hmm.
Now I put the transportation layer because that helps me center.
Mm-hmm.
And then you zoom in, and as you zoom in, the features become more defined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just say we're up around 290. Give it a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so here you can see in this area, if your business is going to encompass like south north of the street here, Kinsey, down to Roosevelt, okay, you've got your north and south boundaries, and then say you're doing the east and west, you've got this area here that you can start collecting your census tract. So it's these CT numbers 8131, CT 8132, those are your census tracts. And let
Mm-hmm.
me just off the box. Okay, and that too, it's clear. So these are the census tracts that you're going to list out.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have this, then you can come up to the tool and set it for geography, census tract, and of course you tell it Illinois, and that was Cook County. And then you start cherry picking your census tracts from here. Um, TT 8130. Let's go here. Oh, that's all the way in the end. Anyway, you cherry pick your census tracts, and then you start looking at your topics. Okay, you're doing a demographic profile of that area. So you want, of course, population. You can get it by age. So you can look at your seniors if you're doing a senior service. You can look at race and ethnicity. You can look at the housing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then your profile that way. And income and poverty, you can look at it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's by those tracks. That's your demographic profile. The other tool that you can use is Census Business Builder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can use Census, this one to look at business data by coming. I've got these decennial chips in here, but under surveys, you
Mm-hmm.
have the economic census, okay, and the surveys. You can look at those by your sector, okay. If you're running what is it, a nonprofit, what kind of a nonprofit is, if you're housing or outpatient services, that kind, or if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
to do a restaurant, okay, you can get by the specific type of restaurant. If you use what am I talking about? Census Business Builder. Let's go to the tools. you can navigate that tool based on your sector, and it will allow you to print out a report that will have some demographic data, and it will have some business data. Where is my census data?
Okay.
And again, this one these are lengthy tutorials, if you will. They will cover a little bit, in terms of the data and the navigation. But I would suggest highly looking at the videos that we have online and walking yourselves through that. And then when it gets to challenges, reach out to us, and then we can help you understand and navigate further. But these are the primary sectors. If you don't have a business in this form, you can key in industry title word or a NAICS code if you have one, and let's just look at healthcare, and then you can use your location or just press in your geography.
Okay.
This tool is basically a mapping tool. It will show you geography overlaid with economic data, overlaid with ACS demographic data, overlaid with building permit data, overlaid with consumer expenditure data.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a lot, and it will help you understand the business landscape that you're getting into. Okay,
This is powerful. Ileana, I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm putting our people on the spot. And this is a whole lot to cover. I know we haven't covered nearly everything we normally talk about. We normally take a little bit more time. I'm wondering if it's possible for you to come back, if there's an interest amongst the group, and we can have a session where we can do breakouts and people can kind of simulate some of this on their own. I don't know if am I asking too much? And I don't know if the group is asking, if the group even is interested.
I am more than happy to come back and help you guys out if it involves, like you said, breakouts, and I need data for this endeavor and I need data for that endeavor. We can work on what's available and how you give you like if you will, some data extraction exercises.
Yeah, that would be great, but I don't know if there's an interest amongst the participants. What do the participants think?
This is Rose Joshua. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, other thoughts? And
this is Elisa Starks. I also think it's a great idea. It's moving very, very fast, and some of the examples are really not relevant. So it would be helpful to have a longer session or one-on-one sessions to go through the data.
Okay, what I could do, I'm going to poll the group to see what your specific issues are, and then Ileana and I can tailor a session specifically for what your needs are. If I, and again, Ileana, I'm putting you on the spot. This is something I just thought of. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I try to, in terms of the example, some of the most common requests that we get to show you the features of the tool, okay, or the power of the tool. But there are, and I do realize that everybody has their very personal or specific data needs. If you can share with Valerie the questions that you need answered, what problem are you trying to resolve? What is the challenge? What data you're looking for? Age data or race data or education data, income data, those, and it could be multiple variables. Okay. Right. Share with Valerie, and then we can work on getting a session for you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, Ileana, a couple weeks, because it may take a minute to really get a good presentation and breakouts. Does a couple weeks from now work?
We're getting into the holidays, and I know that we've got a couple of things working in November, and then of course December you can look at it.
Okay.
Lots of time off here and there. So
Okay.
I
All
would
right.
say it's better to develop it and get a comprehensive walkthrough is
Mm-hmm.
looking into the new year.
Right. And if people are willing to spend more than an hour, too.
Absolutely.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Valerie.
Yes, Deborah.
Hi. Um,
Hey.
so I was wondering, like, this tool, this map do, or could she like pull like community level data, like she can whatever partners or people we have on here, like if they want to see Inglewood, if they want to see data from Austin, if they see like she got right there, like the Austin tracks order.
Yeah, that's a great question. Eliana?
This tool is very easy to use, and you can from here pick out, what your boundaries are for your neighborhoods. Because like I said, neighborhood data is not census data, so we don't have the boundaries of, say, Austin or Englewood or Lawndale or West Lawndale. We don't have those boundaries. We have the census tracts that are in that neighborhood.
Yeah, so I think our census tract is 8314. So you'll click on that
you
track.
know the boundaries.
It'll tell us what's in that track if we clicked on the track.
So
No,
you have
this
to.
is just a mapping tool. This
Right.
is just a mapping tool to show you the geography. You capture this and the track number, then that's when you go to Census.gov, or I should say data.census.gov, and then come in and do your geography. And then you want your tract, select your tract level, at what state, within what county, and then you look for your tract.
Okay.
Okay, it's a all-inclusive list. Is like Cook County, I think, has like 100 and something or other tracts, or more than that. City of Chicago, I'm sorry. Just keep scrolling down.
So, Deborah, what community number is Austin?
So no, like the track, I think a track that I recognize is like the one that was 8133 or something.
Okay,
like
so it sounds like Austin might be 81, community area 81.
33.
33?
8133, she said.
80. I guess what I was getting at it, if you know the community area corresponds to the first two digits, I believe, of the census tract. And if you
our community area, Austin is like, I think 25, but I don't think that this, she said she don't go down to the community level, she go by tracks.
But what I'm saying is
there's an 81, 33, 01, and 02.
What I'm saying is you can group the census tracts. If you know all the census tracts for a community, you group all of those together, and that becomes your community. The community areas in Chicago are grouped by census tract. They're a bunch of census tracts, and if you know,
I was talking about right then just to see how the tool works. So I thought if you click on one of the data, then you can see what's in that area.
Okay, I got it. I'm sorry, Eliana.
No. I'm just trying to say she was looking at 8133, and on our list we've got 8133, 3301, and 3302, which means this one.
What kind of data can you get from knowing that track?
Okay. You have your geography set, so now you can go to your topics and look at all of these variables. So under, say, health, you've got health, disability, fertility, health insurance. Housing, you can pick any one of these. Anything that has a box is a final selection, but if you want to look at more data, click on those that don't have a box. So under financial characteristics, you can look at value, mortgage, real estate, renter's cost, population and people. You're looking at age and sex. This one, ancestry, veterans. If you go down under race and ethnicity, you've got all of these variables that you
click on race. Can you just click on race right quick and see what it's showing?
Race and ethnicity.
Yes.
And then you do done. And I've got it on the map viewer right now, so it's showing up the tracks. So let's go back to the table, right? And here are your tracks. Back to the table for the city of Chicago. Now that's redistricting data. We want to look at what are we going to call characteristics data. You can come down and under the survey, take out decennial and just do American community. I would suggest the 5-year estimate, and then you've got detailed tables that you can look at or not. So that's how you set your search path to get at the information that you want. So right now, here it is at the ACS 5-year level, 81, 3301, 02, and the city of Chicago. I don't know why 03 doesn't pop up here. That's something to investigate. But you are looking at the sex by age. So you've got across your estimates. And then here coming down, you have your male cohort, your female cohort. Okay, and this is just an age by sex. And of course, you can come down and look at it by specific ethnicity or mixed race, Latino, Hispanic, and even load more and continue your data search with regards to the available data sets. Median age. Okay, by income. So there you have. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's the thing with regards to data searches. There are 3 things that you need to keep in mind of. You need to know the topic. What data are you looking for? Income, age, race, specific race, or whatever. You need to know your topic. Secondly, you need to know your geography. Okay.
Hi,
And
I
then
was going to add one thing to
go
that. For when you're doing like business plans or even for a nonprofit, you're looking at, a lot of times you're looking at all of that data. And I have, Valerie, I have examples of what I use that breaks out by year. And it could be one template that we could use for everyone and adjust it from there. Because usually as a business person, I'm looking for data that's within a 3 to 5 mile radius of the location I'm in. And so sometimes that's easier for people. Like if they know exactly, they may be looking for a specific community, like I may be based in South Shore, but my trading area would be a 3 mile radius. And I know you can pull that data and you could pull it by race, by age, by household income, all of that. We'd want all of that. So I have an example of the actual form I'd expect to pull that I normally pay for. And that could be one of the templates that she helps us build.
Okay. Does that work for you, Ileana?
Yeah, I would have to see the structure, and then we can discuss, the particulars. We can work on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ileana. I really do appreciate your being flexible. You and I did not discuss all of this, but I'm just reading what I'm feeling, I guess, from the audience, even though nobody's saying anything.
I just think that it's something that could be shared with everybody, and then from there you could manipulate it. So somebody might want not a 3 to 5 mile radius, but they may want an exact census tract or multiple census tracts. And so maybe even with that, working to get that. But I think I have a great template that would help nonprofits and for-profits on the call pull the data that they want.
Okay, let me give you my email address. It's Valerie F as in Frank Leonard at nonprofitutopia.com, and we could fashion, Ileana and I could do a exercise. Maybe this could be the basis for an exercise to be broke. We could do breakouts and people can kind of work on their stuff.
Exactly. And I think if we could just get the basic information first, and then as part of that second half of the second,
Absolutely.
you
I'm
could
willing
learn to
to
get
help
into
you learn
specifics.
as much as you can about what we have to offer.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
let's look at it and fashion out a session for, based on that then.
okay. Yeah, there's a whole lot. Yeah, so I've got everybody's email information. I will, poll the group, and Ileana and I will put together an exercise where, it'll be hands-on and people can do their own data sets. Okay, are there any other questions? And
for those, Valerie, if you don't mind, for those that are attending and, viewed this, if they know of members in their network, bring them into that session so they can learn.
Yeah.
Or, share the information so we could all learn how to not pay for the data that's available for you for free.
Right. Because the folks that people are buying the data from, they come to you, right?
Correct.
They come to the census and then they sell it to other people.
Correct.
Okay. Any sense for how much time we have? 2 hours? 3?
Valerie, I don't want to commit to that until I see what the lesson plan is going to look like.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. All right. Are there any other questions? Any comments?
James Davis here. I found this to be very helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I'll be in touch with you guys by email to get a sense for, what you're looking for. I'll share that with Ileana, and then we will craft a session where there's breakouts. Yeah, normally when we do this, these are live sessions. And as Ileana talks, people have their computers and and you can follow along at your desk. That's not possible because of COVID. So, all righty. So has everyone shared your contact information? We're going to get back with you as soon as possible. We're going to come back probably in December. Is that what I heard, Ilya?
January. I would say January.
All right. So in the meantime, I'm sure people are working with data. They're going to have questions. Can they get in contact with you with questions that they may have? They can call into the Bureau. Is that correct? Okay.
Actually, I just put up my contact information on the screen. If they care to take the email or the phone number.
Okay. All right. And then for
my phone number direct, if they.
Okay. And will you be sharing the slide deck? I'm going to share the video, but will you make the slide deck available?
Have general questions, they can send it to Census or call 1-844-275-3282 or drop at Census.gov or grab my email, or you can call me at 630-453-0752 or get in touch with Valerie. She knows how to get in touch with me.
Okay, Ileana, will the slides be available?
I can share them. Yeah, I'll send them to you and then you can distribute them.
Okay, awesome. All right, I sense urgency. We're over time by about a half hour, and I appreciate everyone for staying. We said that this would be an hour, but it lasted longer. Thank you guys so much. All right. Any parting thoughts, Ileana?
I'm sorry it took a little longer, but it is a lot to cover and a lot to share. But we will get through this. Contact me if you need, something really, you have something urgent that needs attention, and we'll work on getting that other course for you so you can navigate on your own.
Right, and that's going to be hands-on.
Correct.
Okay. All righty. All right, so this concludes our session today. I want to say thank you again, everybody. All right, so we will be in touch. I'll get you the link to the recording, and I'll also send you a Google form so that you can give us your thoughts. And then please make sure that you bring others who are working with you to the session so that you're all working on something together. All right. So thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Goodbye.